Hello, it's Glow Digestive Show for you guys. Today we are going to look at something important. There are some questions that we neglect before actually getting married. Before you get married, there are some questions you and your spouse you have to sit together and discuss them before you have to get married. You have to discuss these questions. Most at times as couples, when the wedding is getting closer, when we get engaged, we spend a lot of time preparing for the wedding. We spend a lot of time preparing for what people will eat, what we'll wear, how we're going to look like, how the invitation cards are going to look like. And we pay very little or no attention at all on how the marriage we are getting into, how our marriage is going to look like. And when we spend a lot of time thinking about how the wedding is going to look like, rather than looking at how our marriage, you and your wife and your husband, how are you guys going to spend time together? How are you guys going to move on into the marriage together? When you spend a lot of time thinking about the wedding rather than the marriage, that is the reason why most people are facing divorce today. We have high rates of divorce, high rates of separation, high rates of depression in marriage, because we spend a lot of time planning on how the wedding will look like rather than planning on how the marriage is going to look like. And if you have to do the positive way, that is putting more attention, excuse me, on how the marriage is going to look like, you will see that we are going to have a lot of blissful marriages in the future if we put more interest on how the marriage should look like. So I'm going to give you some points. I'm going to give you some points as a couple that you can look into. You can talk with your partner before actually planning your marriage, planning your wedding. You should look at this point, and if you guys can have a comprehensive agreement on this point, you will see that you will have a blissful marriage at the end. Most people, before they get married, they don't talk on how many kids they intend to have. And when you get into that marriage, you see that the woman wants 5, the man wants 10. Who actually carries the baby is the woman, right? But it doesn't mean that you as the woman has the full decision on the number of children you guys have to have. The man has a say as well as the woman. So before marriage, you should talk on the number of kids you guys intend to have. If maybe you guys could have, the woman may want 5, the man wants 10, and you guys could narrow it to 4 and come to an agreement that we should have 4 kids. It is better in that way. And that it doesn't just end there. You should also talk on, in case we get married and discover that the man cannot father a child, what do we do? Do we divorce? Do we separate? Do we get an adoption? In case the woman as well cannot is not fertile enough to have a child, what do we do? Do we adopt a child? Do we do other things in order to have these children? Or do we just stay single? Do we just stay without any child? Or what should we do? You should discuss these things before marriage. So when you get into marriage, and in case your wife cannot have a child, or you as a man cannot father a child, you already had a plan while you were single, while you guys were in courtship, how you're going to handle it. And you will see that you will have less stress or depression to handle this situation. You have to talk about things like religion. There are people who maybe the wife is a Catholic and the husband is a Muslim, or the wife is a Pentecostal and the husband is a Christian. You have to agree on the religion. There are marriages today that people are thinking of divorcing, walking out of the marriage. The children themselves are confused. Do I go to church with mom? Do I go to church with dad? Because there is confusion in your religion. You have to agree. Are we going to come together as husband and wife to become a Muslim, or to become a Christian, or a Pentecostal? Whatever you guys agree should stand even in your marriage. In that way, even your kids will not be confused. Either they are going with dad or mom. They already know where they want to go to. Another important point is, how important is sex to you as a couple? You have to discuss things like this. Most couples are shy, or have these questions in mind but do not know how to bring it forth to their partners. It is important for you to discover yourselves, yes, and it's as well as this, it's important for you to know what you want and what you don't want. You have to discuss sex in your relationship. In marriage, are we going to have sex 3 times a week? Are we going to have sex 1 time a week? Are you comfortable me not touching you or not having sex with you for a whole week? That you have to explain to your partner. I'm not the sex kind of person. I'm the kind of person that loves sex a lot. I'm the kind of person that has little or no desire when it comes to sex. You have to discuss it with your partner, and you guys plan. You don't actually plan sex in marriage, but at least you have an idea of what your sex life will look like in marriage. And there's also some questions like, do we want to watch porn in our marriage? Do you want that kind of marriage where you and your husband will watch porn? Because it is disgracing, it is annoying, it can be so disconnecting if you are a woman or a man who dislike things like porn, and then you discover that your wife or your husband is addicted to porn. It disconnects the both of you. So you have to agree while you are still in courtship. Do we want to get into porn while we get married? Do we want to tolerate things like masturbation into our marriage? You have to discuss points like this while you are still in courtship. It is important. So you don't get into marriage and sneaking left and right and doing things that would displease your partner. So you have to discuss these things while you are still in courtship. And trust me, discussion in courtship makes a lot of sense. You are at a point where the both of you can easily say no, it won't work, and you walk away. But marriage, it is a covenant that has been sealed by God. It is not that easy for you to separate when you are married. So it is important that you emphasize on certain things, what you want to tolerate into your marriage and what you want to accept in your marriage. And most especially, you should know that you might create rules while you are in courtship. And you should also be open for changes when you get married. There are some things that you didn't discuss in courtship, or you discuss in courtship, but because now you are married, things have changed. You can still adjust to the new era. You can still adjust things in your marriage. It doesn't mean that because we agreed on this while we were in courtship, we cannot change it when we are married. No, you can bring in a point and bring in the importance of us to change this thing, and you people actually agree and you change it and move ahead. There are things people need to discuss. You need to discuss on, how do you see us in 10 years' time? You have to discuss your vision. How do you see this relationship getting on in 10 years' time when we get married? When you discuss your vision, your vision is that people who get married and their vision is to cook food, heavy food, with all obstacles. There are people who get married and their vision is to put on the best pointinini, the best Gucci. There are people who get married, their vision is to invest. There are people who get married and their vision is to invest on themselves. Their vision is to invest on maybe buildings, lands, or on a company. Their vision is to invest on their children and their vision. You need to discuss things like this. When you know the vision of your wife, of your husband, as a family, you will work towards it. You see some men will complain that my wife spends a lot, my husband goes out a lot. That is because there is no vision. If you guys have a vision, you will cut down on expenses in order to attain that vision. Before you get married, talk on your vision. Explain yourself to your wife, to your husband. This is what I think that we should achieve in 10 years time, in 20 years time. And in order for us to achieve this, we have to do this, do that. Do we agree? And when you guys agree, you will see that. At times, maybe your wife will even be the one to say, honey, please, can we skip the shopping of this week? Can we skip it? Or can we reduce our expenses in order for us to meet our vision? Or you see the wife saying that, oh baby, please, can we reduce the rate at which we do things, cooking or stuff like that, in order for us to attain our vision? You assist each other in order to attain the family vision when the vision is clear and has been agreed by both parties. So discuss your vision. Discuss how you want your home to be like in 10 years time before thinking of even getting married, before getting into the marriage proper. Discuss your vision. Also, you should also discuss how you want to handle misunderstanding in your marriage. People wait for misunderstanding to walk into their home, to come into their relationship, and they start quarreling, they start thinking of divorce, they start thinking of a separation. Because why? It is because you didn't discuss how you're going to handle the misunderstanding right from the start. In a relationship, while you are still in courtship, you should talk on how you want to handle misunderstanding, because misunderstanding is going to come into your marriage. You are going to have misunderstanding with your husband, you are going to have misunderstanding with your wife. It is normal. Every marriage, there must be a misunderstanding. But what is most importantly and pertinent that I will emphasize that you do is create rules and regulations in your marriage. In case my husband becomes an outgoing man, what do I do to bring him in order? You guys have to talk. You have to talk on how to handle that. In case my wife cheats on me or my husband cheats on me, how do we solve a problem like that? In case my wife starts being nagging or my husband starts being nagging, how do we solve a problem like that? Look for common problems that you see couples face in their marriage. It's not only about you or your husband, you the wife or your husband. It could also be problems about the children. I know problems like, what kind of school should we put our children? People have divorced because their wife wants their kids to go to a boarding school. The husband wants the kids to go to a public, a government school. And there is a misunderstanding. And you see that there's chaos in the home. Even the children in the middle, they are confused. Some of them want to go this way. Some of them want to go this way. And there is division in the family. So you have to also address issues as concern the kids. There is also something very important that we neglect most of the time, and that is our medical health. As couples, we have to talk about our medical conditions. We have to see a doctor if possible. In fact, it is very important and it should be done. As couples, before you get into marriage, talk about your medical conditions to your partners. Discuss your health issues with your partners. And you should even see a medical professional to advise you people. Do checkup in order to know your blood group, to know your medical condition. Are you guys compatible? We see children suffering today because parents neglected issues like this. We have beautiful, handsome kids who are suffering with so much pains in the name of sickle cells. because parents neglected to do certain things right from the beginning. You could stop this pain. So let's fight the pain. Let's not get into marriage without a proper medical checkup. It is important. And while doing that medical checkup, you could even discover that you are infected with HIV. You could even discover that you are infected with gonorrhea, sexually transmittable diseases, and you get to treat yourself before getting in contact with your partner. Because in marriage is not a selfish organization. It's not a selfish union. It is a union where you fight for your wife fights for you. If you are infected, you have to treat yourself. You don't have to infect your wife or your husband. You get to that's why you see that some partners that will say, no baby, please, I'm not going to have sex with you for 1 week or for 1 month because I have to treat myself. People discuss that in their marriage. Yes, it is important. Or you see maybe some Kenny men or Kenny women will say, hey, I'm not in the mood for 1 month because they are actually treating themselves. So I hope these points I've said will help somebody who is planning to get into marriage. Spend time with their spouse to discuss these points. There are many of them. You spend time, discuss these points with your wife to be, with your husband to be. Don't spend a lot of time planning on the gifts, on how the hall will look like and how you're going to satisfy people. They are going to come and eat and they will go. And you and your wife will stay in that marriage forever. And remember, if your marriage becomes a failure tomorrow, they that ate well in that wedding will still be the same person that will use that same mouth that you fed, will be the same person that will talk bad and will talk against your marriage, against your divorce. So be wise as single persons. Even if you are already in the marriage, you didn't discuss things like this, it's never too late to call your husband, to call your wife, and get to a serious discussion. I love you guys, and keep sending messages and comments, share the video. Stay blessed. Love you guys so much.